There we go, yes. Okay, it's running. Hello, welcome to this Unity tutorial. I haven't done one in ages. Here we are. And thank you to James Hanvey, for your request for this tutorial. So what we're going to do is write a script for taking a screenshot. So if I'm in my game, I could pretend that I get a camera out of my inventory, take a screenshot, and then, this, by the way, this is Jane Hanvey's excellent icon. My disk is almost full. Excuse me. Just close that down. Okay. Sorry, I was just saying this is a wonderful YouTube icon there, Geeky Raptor Studios. What I can do in my scene, you can do this 2D or 3D. I've just got a first-person controller. It's 3D, obviously. If I now press spacebar, it actually works. Thank goodness. So there we go. So what I've got is just a cube in my scene that I've now rendered what the camera view was kind of inputting. I've rendered that now just to a cube. So I've just slapped on a texture onto that cube. And also, you may have noticed, if you were eagle-eyed, on my desktop here, I've also got that screen grab or screenshot saved as a PNG file. So that's maybe something you also want to do. So there's two things going on there. One, just writing the script to be able to take whatever you're looking at, like that, make it into a texture, and then put it onto a texture in-game while you're actually running. And another thing you might want to do, which is separate, is to use that data and to write a file to the desktop. Right, so I'm going to stop the demo now. And what I'm going to do in this tutorial, first, I don't usually do this, but first, for people who just want the answer, I'll start doing this now. I'm just going to show you the code to begin with, and so you can just take a screenshot or whatever. I need to make that slightly smaller so you can see everything, sorry. So, and then afterwards, I will then just code this from scratch, and it's quite short. It's less than 100 lines of code, quite simple. So for anyone who wants to know how to do it from scratch, you can watch the rest of the video. So first, to people who just want the code, so this is, I've called this one snap.cs. It's a C# mono behavior. So I'll just scroll down. So we've just got like about 5 variables. Then we've got about 4 or 5 functions. Take snap, that's a static function. The start function, very short. Take snap function. And then this is the one that does the work on post render. So there we go. I've actually written some comments as well. And then that's it. Okay, so that's under 80 lines of code there. That does all the work. And then let me just show people who want to just see the code. And then I've just got a separate file, a separate script that just takes in, look, a key input. So when I release the space key, I just call that function. I can make my code slightly bigger here. I just call the take snap static function that was on the other code. So I'm calling this first function here that then goes and runs the rest of the stuff. Okay, so I guess you could have all that in one function, one script. It's better to have like them separate and organized like that. And let me just show you now how we set up the scene. So all I've got in my scene is a first person controller. I've got the sun, the directional light, I've got some ground, and I've got just a cube. So just something with a renderer on. So if you just went to game object, create a cube, you could just use that to render on. I'll just delete that. How do you delete? I can't remember. Right click, delete. There we go. And then you're going to use that to populate this here. So when we make our script, we're going to attach it to the camera that you're using in your scene. So my camera isn't the main camera, it's actually the camera attached to my first person controller. So I've actually found not like the what do you call it, like the parent. It's actually the camera is actually a child object attached to that parent object. So basically just find wherever your camera is, and this is where you can drag or add your script to. Mine's called snap. And then whatever you're going to render the texture to, so my cube, my display here, you drag that into that public variable space, whatever it's called, there, okay? Then the input script, so there, that's where we've just attached the snap script, the main script. For the input script, this, because it's just running in the update loop, you could just attach this to anything. I just attached it, I think, to my ground, because the ground's going to be in the scene. So there it is, a snap input. It's just there. I guess it would make more sense to attach that here. So like, where is it? I would just go, where are we? Yeah, grab that snap input and attach it to this game object. Then it's kind of attached to the thing that deals with inputs and stuff. But it doesn't matter, as long as that's attached to something that's running in your scene, that's fine. So for the snap input, but for the main script itself that's dealing with taking the screenshot and rendering it to textures and writing files and things, that needs to be attached here to wherever your camera is in your scene. Okay, right. Goodbye to those people who just wanted the code, and I'll try to attach the code below. And let's continue for people who want to understand how the code works and actually making it yourself. So first thing I'm going to do is disable my main script, and then on my ground I'm going to disable that script as well. So essentially we haven't got any scripts running in our scene. We can also, my snap display, let's disable that as well. Okay, so this should be the kind of starting position for everybody, where you've got either a 2D or a 3D scene with some kind of character controller in, and whatever scene you've got, you're going to have a main camera. Okay, there we go. So we want to be able to press a space bar instead of just jumping. We want to be able to take some screenshots. Right, so let's stop that. Also, this is my previous screenshot file, my desktop. Let's just delete that. I'll keep my face down here. I'm usually a bit higher. Hopefully this is not too disturbing. It hasn't rocked your world. My face being down there. Right. So first thing we need to do, let's just get our display ready. So 3D object, I'm just going to have a cube. So it's like a giant TV in our scene. And let's plop him there. Make him 9 across, 9 high. And maybe because my display, actually my screen, that's having a screenshot taken of, it's wider than it is high. So let's just drag that out a little bit. There we go, so it's like a widescreen TV or something, and we can put that over there. Right, so we know what this is. I should call it something like display or gallery. I'm just going to call it egg, because I'm in the mood to do that. So I'm going to call that egg. Now we need 2 scripts. So let's make those. So we want first our should we call this? So I've called the ones that are actually working snap. So let's call these shot, like a screenshot. So we'll have shot input. So this will just be that very tiny script that just waits for me to press a spacebar, and then it runs the other script basically. And let's attach this to our scene. Let's attach it to the more logical place, like I was explaining earlier. So I'm going to drag that onto my camera. So wherever your camera, or for me, my camera is my first person camera, so I'm going to attach it to there. And then we need to make our other script, which is going to do most of the work. Create. I lost what I was doing for a second. And this we're going to call shot. Okay. Right. And we need to attach that to the same place we just attached our shot input. Shot input. Okay, so that's very important, that step. This shot script, which is going to be doing most of the work, must be attached to wherever your camera is in your scene. I don't think I have to say that any more times, so I won't. Right, so let's open up Shot, your favorite IDE. I've got the completed scripts here, which I'm basically going to go copy because I only learned how to do this today, James, and whoever else is watching, so I don't really understand it fully, and I certainly haven't memorized it. Even though it's quite short and quite simple, I'm going to basically just be copying my code. So what was I just talking about? Oh, right. So one of the first things we need to do is grab hold of, we won't need the update function, we will need the start function, or the awake function, I guess we could use. The first thing we need is our camera. We need to get hold of that camera. That's the key thing. So we want private camera, which is a built-in Unity object type, and we'll just call it cam. Although my autocomplete wanted to call it something else. I'm going to make my script even bigger so you can see that, my code even bigger. Right, so in the start function, so this will run when we run our game or simulation, we want to say cam equals game object get component, and we want to get the camera. What have I done wrong? There's something what am I doing? Cam equals it's this bit, isn't it? This get component. Do I have to now say do I have to now say game object dot? What am I doing? Right. The first simple thing I've got wrong. Let's go back to my my own code. Private camera. Where's the start function? Camera equals this game object. Oh right, yeah. Okay. It's been a while, okay, since I've used Unity. Okay, so, and it's always fun to watch people work through their bugs. There we go. Just put that on a separate line because my script is so large. So it doesn't matter, by the way, if you're unfamiliar with that line break. When the compiler compiles this, it will just kind of stick those back together. It doesn't matter. So my camera equals this game object. It will get hold of the camera. So essentially that's just getting hold of, where are we? The script, remember, our shot script is here, and it's getting hold of this game object, and then it's finding the camera component. Lovely. And then I just noticed, reminding myself, I need to say instance. I won't explain that because I don't really understand it well enough to explain, but we need this instance for, where do we need, we need it up here for when we're actually calling another function to take the shot. Okay, so we need to say instance equals, oh no, autocomplete, it's getting in the way. You know what, let's actually write that first. So we'll make our second variable private, what is it? Do I just say instance? Oh, it's a private static shot. So you're going to call this it's like an inst. Again, I don't really understand. We're running an instance kind of this script, as it were. That's not a very good explanation. So it's going to be named whatever you've called this script. Probably a good idea just to name it exactly what I've named it for now, until you're comfortable with what everything does, and then you can change your variable names as you wish. But when you're coding along, it's a lot easier to kind of copy exactly what I'm doing, to avoid those silly little bugs where you've just named something and then haven't named those other things later on exactly as I've done. I'm rambling. Anyway, shot. Oh, I forgot what I'm doing. Instance. There we go. Okay. So we've got our two variables. So we've got our camera and then our complicated instance thing, which we won't have to talk about much, don't worry. But we just have to say instance, that won't auto-complete and overwrite because I've actually made the variable up here, equals this. And that's not this game object, it's this script. Anyway, save our work so far. Good. Let's now write our function that another script needs to be able to get hold of. So this needs to be a public static void function. Static, if you haven't seen that keyword, it's just to do with running instances instead of like running classes over lots of different objects. Again, that's a terrible explanation, but it will do for now. And we're going to call this take shot. And it's a good convention if it's a static function just to use an underscore and then just write static. You don't have to do that. It's just obviously because it's just a name. It's not actually a keyword or a function call or anything. But it's just for other people looking at it, or your future self when you come to, or my future self when I come to understand instances and things a bit more as I'm running in them in C# in Unity. It'll organize your code a little bit better. So this is the function that our input script will run. And what we need to pass in there is the size of the screenshot that you want. So they're going to be integers. I'm going to have a width and a height. There we go. So public static void take shot underscore static, and we're going to pass in two arguments, a width and a height. Lovely. And then this function is just going to do two simple things. It's going to run a function that we'll call take a shot, and it's going to pass in the width and the height there. And that doesn't exist yet, so that's why we're getting the little error. And then we want to basically turn on a switch that says, "Okay, camera, go and take a picture. Use the pixels that you're kind of like rendering to your target texture. Basically, go and do that." So we need a true and a false. We need a boolean. So private bool. What shall we call it? What if I called it in my original script? I called it take screen snap. So we call it take screenshot, I guess. Take screenshot equals false. That's really important. We don't want that on. If it's true, or we don't use this little mechanism, this simple on-off switch, it will kind of be trying to take screenshots every single frame, which we don't want. So when we want to take a screenshot, then we want to say take screenshot equals true. And now let's write our private void take shot function, and that will take width and height, both integers again. Object reference. What's going on? Oh, do I need to instance take shot? No. What am I doing? So I'm a little confused at why I'm getting an error. So I'll just have a look at my my handy code that I prepared earlier. Oh yeah, I do need that. Sorry, instance. Oh, it's here. Instance take snap, and then I guess in take snap or take shot, that's where I want to switch that to true. Apologies. So let's cut that from there and place that in here. And yes, we do need to refer to our instance there, and we can save that. Okay. So in our static function, we need to refer to the instance dot take shot. So that will run take shot, and then we'll get hold of our camera, and what we want to here we want to set the target texture to what is it, is it temporary? Actually, let me look at my code again. Target texture equals render texture get temporary. Let me try not to copy and paste anything. This will help me learn this. So what was it? It was render texture. There we are. Then it was get temporary. And these helpful tips are just getting in the way. Then what do I need? Get temporary. Oh, the width and the height, and then the depth buffer. Okay. So get temporary, and what we're going to pass in there is our width, our height, and then a depth buffer of 16 will be absolutely fine. There we go. I've written all this very strangely. Let's just put that over there. There we go. Okay, and save. Right, if you needed this is more advanced, if you needed like a stencil buffer, you would change this number to 24. But 16 is what we need. You don't have to understand that, or don't have to worry. I don't really understand it either, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so overview. What have we got so far? We've got our camera, and in the start function, we grabbed hold of this instance. Don't have to worry about that anymore. What makes more sense is we're going to get hold of our camera and store it in that variable cam, so that when our user presses spacebar, it will call this function takeShot static, and that will run on the instance the takeShot function, and it will just pass in from the user what width and height, and then in our takeShot function, it's like we're passing the width and the height into one function, then into another, and then into another. And what we're doing is actually kind of taking the screenshot here. The camera's target texture is now not going to be kind of like the screen. It's going to render to a temporary texture and of depth buffer 16 with those width and height integers. And then we actually switch on take a screenshot, which will be triggered in, and let's do that down here. I think this is our last function that we have to write. So this is void on the post render. We're going to say if take screenshot is true, then go and sort out all like the pixels and everything. Let me just get that off there. And write a file if we want to write a file. Do all the stuff basically in there. If not, just ignore it. Okay, so it's really important to have this there. We only want to take the screenshot at one time, not every single frame. And actually, as soon as we've got inside of here, we want to say take screenshot equals false. So in effect, it will only run whatever's in here once, because we've switched the switch off as soon as we get in there. That's really good practice. So we'll save that. Okay, so all we've got to essentially do now in our main script is write the on post render function, which is doing the key work. And so now what we really need to do is just write this little function here, this little script here to actually deal with the input. So let's go back into Unity. Where are you, Unity? Here we are. And so we've got our shot input, and that was attached again to I've already attached it to our first person character. So let's open it up now. So I can delete the start function. It doesn't need a start function. It just needs an update function. Do you always delete that little comment? I always do. It makes it cleaner. So we just want to say if our input get key, it could be key down. I'd prefer key up. Yeah, I'll get key up. And we want key code spacebar. It's quite nice. That's also what I'm using for jump, which is a bit weird. So if I press the spacebar, then we want to run the shot function. So we get hold of that, that static function. So we want to get hold of shot and then take shot static. And this is where we pass in, this is actually where we put in the number of how big you want your screen. So you could do a screenshot of 600 by 400 or 640 by 480 if you're kind of like in your 30s. You can remember that kind of resolution. What if you wanted the whole screen? So to get the whole screen size, we go for capital S screen.width. I'm just going to go onto a new line, comma. Sorry, these helpful post-it notes are getting in the way. Screen dot height. Semicolon. There we go. That's our input script finished. So I'm just going to save that. So when we press the key, it will run this our static function, take shot static. So if I go back to my script, what that basically does is call this function, which is just calling this function. And then, and what it does is, actually let's write a little comment. Switch on screenshot taking. And our post on the post renderer, which is always running, kind of like an update loop, if our take screenshot switch is on, then it will do the rendering texture kind of stuff. So this is where we are. So let's go back to my original script, just make sure I've done everything so far. Yes. So, oh, we're going to need another variable, our display, where we're actually going to put the screenshot once we've taken it. Let's just make sure everything's working so far. So in here, we could write a little debug log, and that will say take shot taken, smiley face. Let's save that, go into Unity, just let it update, and if we now run, and if I display the console, go back to my game, so now if I press spacebar, it should say shot taken, smiley face, and then something's gone wrong. No, oh yes. Then things will go wrong because we need to write the rest of it. Okay, I'm just making sure I haven't got snap input. I might, okay, I should be able to leave that there. Snaps on, shot input is there. Okay, I think everything's okay. Right, let's get back to the final part of the code. So that runs. Oh, we need to do some cleanup. Yeah. Oh, okay. So first thing we want to do now is give ourselves a public game object, and that's going to be our display. We'll call it my display. So that's just the cube that we made, like a TV screen in our scene. In fact, let's go into Unity and populate that variable now. Just letting Unity catch up. So if I go to my script, my shot script, you see my display now has come up here, but we don't have an object in there yet. So we just need to drag our egg, I've called this egg, this big TV, into that variable there. Okay, so now it's got hold of this object in the script. I can refer to my display and it'll be that large cube. Okay, so I'm just going to look into my script because I can't remember what to do next. Here we go. So take screenshot is false. We've set that again. So we need to make a render texture, and the render texture is going to be our camera's target texture, so whatever it's looking at. So render texture, okay, can I remember this? Okay, so we want a render texture, and let's call it rend text equals, and we're going to go to our camera object, and we're going to say, yes, your target texture. That looks okay. Yep, target rend text, brilliant. Now we're going to retrieve our temporary render as the texture. So we're going to make a 2D texture now, and we're going to store that information from what our camera's looking at into that texture, that 2D texture, with the correct format. Okay. So we want a new texture 2D. I'm just trying to remember what I called it. Render result. Equals, that's going to be a new texture 2D. And so we want the width, which is going to be our rend text dot width. Now the height, so that's going to be the rend text height. Format is going to be, do I just say texture format? Yeah, texture format. Which is, oh, they've got them all here, but it's going to be an alpha, red, green, blue, 32, and then the final bit, we don't want linear, just use false at the end. Okay, I'm really sorry that all those things are now popping up, kind of getting in the way. Anyway, I'm not doing a very good explanation anyway, but we've got our render result. And what we're doing, we're using our rend texture, so our render texture from the camera, and we're building a 2D texture using its information, like its width, its height, and the format. And I've done something wrong. It's not liking that. Oh, right. I've got too many parentheses for some reason. There we go. Save the script so far. Lovely. So now I say we need to gather the pixels from that texture. So if you've tried to do this yourself, and it's kind of like taking a screenshot and things, but it might not be kind of like working. You might not be able to render it to your object in your scene. Then what I've found is that these next few lines are probably what you're missing. So you need to build a rectangle or a rect object using the render texture information. You need to read the pixels and then apply that to the render result itself. Then you'll be able to apply the texture to your object. So let's just write these ourselves. I should just copy and paste, it'll be a lot quicker. Rect, and then so I'm building a new rectangle, starting at 0, 0, so top left-hand corner, to its width. Oh, look at that. I've got a mistake in my original code. That should be its height. So, that's bad. So well done if you watched, if you're watching this, the actual explanation, because you wanted to learn. You have found a little Easter egg. What's like a nightmare Easter egg? Night egg. You found a night egg. That people who just wanted the results, the dirty code, they will not have seen that. Okay, right, let's get on with the coding, sorry. So we want a rect object, we'll call it rect, equals new rect 0, 0, 2, our rend texts with rend texts height, and that was it, wasn't it? Is that it? Yes. Render result, read those pixels, and we're going to use that rectangle. So all we're doing is kind of creating these objects that all have the same size. We're going to like pass pixels between them. That's kind of what's going on. So our render result, read pixels, we want to use the rectangle, rectangle source 0, 0. Is that right? 0, 0. Yeah, rectangle source first, then 0, 0. Good, 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 good. Okay, just a quick review of what we've got so far in our on-poster render. So we're inside take screenshot, that's true. Got a little debug there. The first thing we do, we switch off. We're no longer taking and rendering screenshots. We have to wait until the user presses the spacebar again. So first thing we're doing, we're building a render texture using our camera's target texture. Then we're building a 2D texture and setting the format and the size. Then we're building a rectangle using, again, the same set size. And then we're actually grabbing the pixels, reading those pixels. And then I believe we need to apply that. Is that right? Do we need to go to rend text apply? That looks wrong. No, it's not the rend text, is it? It's the render result. I want to do that too. Render result apply. So having read those pixels, or it's kind of like set the pixels, we want to apply those. You have to actually manually do that. Render result apply. Okay, so we've taken a screenshot. Now we want to apply the texture to our object. So we can get hold of my display, get hold of its renderer, its material, and then it's the main texture to actually access the actual texture on it. And it's going to be the render result, which we've just applied the pixels to. I feel that we're so close now. I dread to see how long this video is, because it's so long it's going to put people off who just want the quick answers. What am I doing? And then I just speak and forgot what I was doing. Yes, my display. We're rendering the text. So my display, which is our big TV egg. We are saying, get component. We want to get hold of your renderer, like that, dot there, and then I'm just going to go on to the next line, or try to, because my font is so big so that you can read it. And then we want to get hold of your material, and then your main texture. And we want to set your main texture to the render result. Done. Right. Now, it's very tempting now to go and run it, and it should it should work. Probably wouldn't, but we need to take care of our camera, because it's now like it's trying to render to instead of rendering to the screen so the user can see it, it's rendering it to an object within the scene, which is a problem, which means there's basically no camera in our scene. So a bug will happen until we run these two lines, or these two lines. So the render texture, release the temporary rend texture. So this at the moment we were using kind of what the camera was doing to build a temporary buffer from which we can make a texture. So, and then our camera's target's texture wants to be reset to null. That's the important thing. That means just display to the screen in the normal way. That's what those do. That was a pretty good explanation. That was not bad. So let's actually write that. Shot. I can't remember it. Render texture. Oh God, I've forgotten already. Render texture. Release temporary. Release the hounds, and it was the rend text that we were using, and then we can say camera, your target texture is null again. Save that. Render texture, release temporary, rend text. Does that look right? Rend text, that look good. Okay, so there's our script. All we've got to do is, if we wanted to save, if it actually works, could we save it to a file and put that on our desktop? So if it works, that's the final thing we'll do. So this is a scary bit. This is where Unity is just now grabbing hold of the file, the script, compiling it. If it's compiled, then it's not thrown up any bugs at the moment. So our shot script, we've got this display here. We've got our input script. We should just be able to press the spacebar, which will run our shot script. So let's press play. I'm really excited. As I said, I haven't made a video for a long time. Thank you again, James Harney, for inspiring this video, requesting it, so I can move forward. Press space. Oh my God! I'm so happy, and I hope if you're making this, when that first actually works, it's a wonderful feeling. Oh, that's brilliant. And then we can play around. We can like do a shot inside of a shot, and we've kind of like made consciousness inside. I don't know, but I guess if you were running this again and again and again, so you weren't just switching it off, you could create those weird portal kind of effects. Okay, so that's working. I'm really happy with that. And we just want to actually write that texture to a PNG file and plop it on the desktop. So we're in our shot script. So inside onPostRender function, when we've applied our rectangle object, so here's where we could like write to a PNG file. Okay, so what do we do? I've forgotten. So oh yeah, we make a byte array and render the result encode to a PNG. Okay, so we need a byte array. So use square brackets equals. I've called that dog because of bite, and dogs bite. What else bites? Ticks. So I'll call it tick. Oh, terrain change flags. No, tick. Just let me write that. Time. Just let me write tick. Oh, that's so annoying. How do I think I go back. There we go. Okay, tick equals, no, tick, open brackets, that's right, isn't it? No, we need to render the result encode to PNG. So, sorry, I was getting really distracted. That, I'm sure, was really annoying. Sorry. Render result. Why is that not coming up? There we go. Encode to PNG. And what do we want to use? We want to use the rectangle, rect. I think that's all I have to put in there, isn't it? Byte, ooh. Byte tick equals render result. Oh, I'm not using a rectangle at all. Sorry. Clearly don't know what I'm doing there. There we go. It won't take any arguments. That's what I'm getting at. So that should have been a lot simpler. A byte array, call it what you like. If you have to fight against your autocomplete like me, and then we're getting hold of the render result. And then it's got a function called encode to PNG, which does all the work for us. Unity, it's absolutely brilliant. Okay, which is magic. So now we can go to system IO input output, and we want to file, and then do I call it just write? Write, yeah, all of the bytes, all of them bytes, and then we put the path and our tick, which is storing variable, which is storing essentially the texture. So our path, if you wanted to get to your desktop, you could like open up File Explorer and then copy the path. Or if on a Mac, let me just show you that now. I open up Finder, I go to my desktop, and then go to this little cog here, and then go to copy desktop as path name. So that'll be on my clipboard now. So double quotes, Control V. So we go users be new desktop, and then /, and then what you want to call your screenshot. So I'll call it shot, and then .png. There we go. And let me just get all that onto one line. Onto the screen by going off just one line, and then a semicolon at the end. File save. That's not liking that for some reason. Oh, second argument, we need to say, well, what is your file actually made of? And we want our tick variable. There we go. Now it's happy. Now let's run it. Oh, it's just grabbing that. Surely this won't work first time. It's kind of gone dark here. A cloud has passed in front of the sun. Here we go. So I'm running around. I want to take a shot of James's icon. Press spacebar. Render the texture. Will I get a file appearing on my desktop? I don't see one. Has it not worked? Oh, it's finally appeared. That was a really long time. When you're maybe not recording your screen, it'll happen instantaneously. There we go. Right. Thank you very much, everyone who's watched that, and especially to James Harney. Brilliant. And you said you've got some other ideas for other tutorials, so I'll go and have a look at your ideas. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.